You wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of your smoke detector. Your bedroom door is closed and you smell smoke. Would you know what to do in this life-threatening situation to save yourself and your family?
Hello, I'm John Ritter, and welcome to the American Red Cross emergency test. For the next hour, you will be placed in critical situations like the one you just saw. Your immediate actions and reactions could spell the difference between life and death. Every year, almost 100,000 Americans are killed in accidents, many of which could have been prevented. And each year, 1 in 4 of us will be injured at home, at play, or on the job. Emergencies can happen anytime, in any place. Would you know what to do if a fire, hurricane, or flood struck? If your husband had a heart attack or your child swallowed poison? If you're not sure, then pay attention. What you learn tonight could someday save your life or someone else's. We're going to put your emergency and first aid knowledge to the test. This test has been designed with the American Red Cross, our nation's foremost volunteer emergency services organization. This test is a chance for you to find out what you do know, as well as to gain skills in what you don't know. It's easy to take, just get a pen and paper ready, and when we come back with part 1 of the test, you'll see if you're really safe at home.
John Ritter will be right back with the American Red Cross emergency test and special guests Richard Dean Anderson, Julia Child, Patrick Duffy, Harry Hamlin, Don Johnson, Michael Landon, Joan London, Al Michaels, Felicia Rashad, Tim and Daphne Reed, Josh Saviano, Alan Thicke, and Betty White. The American Red Cross emergency test. Make sure the whole family can pass.
My name is Peggy Rogers, and this is my 3-year-old son, Jameson. When my husband and I taught Jameson how to dial 911, I never thought he'd need to use it to save my life. But one day, I started to choke on a cough drop. Tell them what you did then, honey.
I called 911, and I told him my mommy couldn't breathe.
The fire department said that if Jameson hadn't called, I wouldn't be alive today. Now I'll never look at him the same. He's not just my son, he's my hero.
They call it home sweet home, but there's nothing sweet about this. Home is the place where you are most likely to suffer a disabling injury. That's where part 1 of our 20-question test takes place. The first question involves one of the leading causes of death in the home, and that is fire.
Usually the fire starts at night while you're asleep, as in question number 1. You wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of your smoke detector. Your bedroom door is closed and you smell smoke. What do you do first? A, drop down to the floor. B, open the nearest window. C, feel the door to see if it's hot. D, run to wake up the other members of your household. Once again, which of these should you do first? The correct answer is A, drop to the floor. If you answered A, give yourself 5 points. In a fire, hot air and deadly smoke rise to the ceiling. By first dropping to the floor, you can avoid inhaling the worst of the fumes and possibly save your life. First, crawl to the door. Feel the door before you open it. If it's hot, don't use it. If the door is not hot, open it slowly. If smoke or hot gases rush into the room, shut the door immediately and use another way out, usually a window. Once outside, have a predetermined place where everyone will meet.
Once again, if you answered A, drop to the floor, give yourself 5 points. Now that family made it out okay, but would yours?
Hi, I'm Patrick Duffy. Remember the smoke alarm you just heard? Well, ideally, that's the sound you would hear if a fire struck your house. If you don't have a smoke detector, think about this. A detector cuts your chances of dying in a house fire by 1/2. Put your smoke detector by the bedroom so the alarm can wake you up. If your house has more than 1 floor, You should have at least one detector on each level. One other thing, check regularly to make sure it's working. More than 1/4 of smoke detectors in homes aren't working, and that's worse than not having one at all. Fire safety experts recommend that you check your detector once a month and you change the batteries once a year. That way, when the going gets hot, you can get going.
Other types of fire can occur at home. Here's question number 2, worth 5 points. We take you to a familiar scene.
You're having a backyard barbecue and you're trying to get the coals hotter quickly by adding more charcoal lighter fluid. The flames suddenly flare up and your clothes catch on fire. What should you do first? A, run to get help. B, find a garden hose to extinguish the flames. C, drop down to the ground to roll and smother the flames. D, try to take off the burning clothes. Which one of these should you do first? The correct answer is C, drop to the ground and roll to smother the flames. The moment any of your clothes catch on fire, it's important not to panic and start running. You should immediately stop, drop to the ground, and roll over and over to smother the flames. Running or moving quickly only feeds more oxygen to the fire and spreads the flames. If you answered C, drop to the ground and roll to smother the flames, give yourself 5 points.
I have a question for you that's not on the test. Can you guess the most common type of fatal accident in the home? I'll give you this one as a freebie. It's a fall. Millions of people are injured and 6,500 die every year as a direct result of falls in the home. It often happens something like this. Question number 3.
Hey, Uncle Herman, hurry up.
While visiting your home, Uncle Herman trips on a rug and falls down the full length of the staircase. He is conscious, but he's a bit stunned and complains of pain. He can't quite tell if the pain is coming from his leg or somewhere in his back. What should you do? A, carry him to the nearest sofa so he can lie down. B, ask him to move his arms and legs to locate the injury. C, get him back on his feet right away. D, make him comfortable without moving him. The correct answer is D, keep him comfortable without moving him. If you are not sure whether there are any broken bones or other serious injuries, it is best not to move him until medical experts arrive.
In this emergency and many others you'll see tonight, calling for help quickly and providing the correct information is critical. Hello, I'm Felicia Rashad. Getting help in a life-threatening situation can be a simple matter of 911. When you call 911, you're activating the EMS, Emergency Medical Services. A dispatcher will take your call and send whatever help you need. If you don't have 911 in your area, have specific emergency numbers posted by every phone. The fire department, police department, ambulance service, poison control center, and your family doctor. Remember, you are the first link in the chain. Your job in an emergency is to provide immediate help and then get professionals to the scene as quickly as possible.
Hello, I'm Joan London with question number 4 of the test. Having 3 children of my own, like any parent, I'm very concerned about safety. Did you know that everyday injuries are the leading killer of children? More kids die in accidents each year than from all childhood diseases combined. For this portion of the test, we're going to take you on a tour of a house. You list all the potential child safety hazards you can spot. Now let's go back and see how you did. We start in the kitchen. The first hazard is that cup of hot coffee near the edge of the counter. Any child who can reach counter height can reach up and grab this. Thousands of children are seriously scalded each year by hot liquids and food. Next, a knife on the counter. It's shiny, it's eye-catching, and it's potentially lethal. The third hazard is an unprotected electrical outlet. If there are kids in your home, this is an open invitation to an electrical shock. It's a good idea to put plastic covers on the outlet so children can't put anything in them. Hazard number 4 is a real killer, a cigarette lighter left lying in the reach of children. Now let's move on to the bathroom, a favorite playground for children. Here we find hazard number 5, an open medicine cabinet. The next hazard is a hairdryer plugged in near the bathtub. Never, ever leave a hairdryer or any other electrical appliance plugged in when you're not using it. Moving into the bedroom, another potential danger zone, we find hazard number 7, small objects left lying on the nightstand. Babies and young children will put anything in their mouths and can easily choke. Protect kids by keeping small objects out of their reach. Be especially careful with balloons. More children suffocate on them than on any other children's product. Household danger number 8, dry cleaning bags. Keep all thin plastic bags away from children. The plastic can cling to a child's face, causing him or her to suffocate. We've made it this far, but can we survive the rest of the house? Hazard number 9, an open window. Did you know that a child can fall out of a window that is only open 5 inches? And finally, our last hazard, innocent-looking houseplants. A child can nibble on them and get very sick. There were 10 potential dangers on our tour. Give yourself a half a point for each one you spotted, for a maximum total of 5 points.
Hi, I'm Michael Landon. Let's talk about kids. I love them. I better. I have 9. The youngest is 3, and I even have some grandchildren toddling around underfoot. So I think that qualifies me as someone who knows what kids will do. Oh, here's what I found out. You never know what kids will do. That's why it's so important to be very careful when you work with any household substances that could be toxic. This year, over 135,000 children under the age of 5 will be victims of accidental poisoning. Now, let's see what we can do to make sure your child is not one of them. Here's question number 5. Mom's cleaning the house and puts down a bottle of furniture cleaner to answer the phone in the kitchen. And while she's out of the room, her 4-year-old daughter picks it up and drinks it. And believe me, this happens all the time. The label on the cleaning fluid says, avoid contact with eyes. May be harmful if swallowed. For 5 points, what should you do first? A, give her syrup of Ipecac to induce vomiting. B, call your local poison control center. C, have her drink a glass of milk to coat the stomach. D, make her lie down immediately. The correct answer is B, call your local poison control center. This is one of the emergency numbers you should have by every phone in the house. Let the people at the center advise you what to do. Generally, you should avoid giving the victim any other liquids which might speed the poison through their body. Most importantly, you can prevent an accident like this by never leaving potentially harmful substances within reach for even a minute when children are present. If you answered B, add another 5 points.
Continuing with the home safety portion of the test, here's question number 6. A friend is hooking up your new video cassette recorder. The area behind the TV is a jumble of extension cords all connected to one outlet. Suddenly there's a flash and your friend spasms and falls to the ground. He is lying on top of several electrical cords and appears to be unconscious. The first thing you should do is pull the person off the wires. For 5 points, is this true or false? For 5 points, the correct answer is false.
Don't touch him.
Never touch the victim of an electrical shock or the equipment he was working on without turning off the power first. If one of the wires is live, his body could conduct the shock directly to you. The first thing you should do is turn off the electricity that goes to that outlet, either at the circuit breaker or the fuse box. After turning off the power, check to see if the victim is unconscious. If he is, Check to see if he's breathing and has a pulse. Then call for emergency help. A note on prevention: this jumble of electrical cords is dangerous. Besides looking bad, it's a major fire hazard. And always check for frayed electrical cords. They can lead to the kind of shock you just saw.
Hi, I'm Richard Dean Anderson. As MacGyver, I'm always getting into some kind of trouble, but somehow I manage to pull through. My secret isn't fancy, high-tech equipment. It's just knowing how to use handy, everyday items to get out of a jam. Like this shoebox. We should all have something like it in our homes, and not just for old shoes or baseball cards. It's a first aid kit. Here's what you should have in it. Band-aids for the minor emergencies. And for major league bangers, gauze pads and triangular bandages. Plus roller gauze and adhesive tape to hold it all together. Scissors, tweezers, and a thermometer. For cleaning those wounds, all you really need is a bar of soap. You'll also need a few over-the-counter drugs, aspirin or acetaminophen for fever or pain, antacid for upset stomach. And it's a good idea to have anti-diarrhea medication around. In case of poisoning, you should have syrup of ipecac to induce vomiting and activated charcoal to neutralize the poison. But remember to call your local poison control center or 911 first. Keep your first aid kit someplace handy, but out of reach of children. Then when an emergency happens, you'll be as prepared as MacGyver. And I won't tell your secret.
Our next question deals with an everyday substance that can be one of the most deadly hazards in your home: water.
For 5 points, here's question number 7. True or false, it is possible to get third-degree burns from regular tap water? The answer is true. It is possible to get third-degree burns from regular tap water. Many people have their hot water heaters set as high as 150 degrees. This can produce serious burns on a small child in just 1 or 2 seconds. Check your hot water heater. A recommended safe setting is around 120 degrees. Also, you can prevent serious scald burns by always checking the temperature of bath water with your hand before putting your child in the water.
Let's add up your score so far. After 7 questions, if you've answered everything correctly, you could have a total of 35 points. Coming up, we're going to test your knowledge against the strength of Mother Nature.
We'll be right back with Tim and Daphne Reed and Betty White.
I was in my Latin American Studies class at UC Santa Cruz when suddenly the room began to shake. When the lights started to drop from the ceiling, I realized it was an earthquake. I flashed back to the 3rd grade in San Diego when we used to do earthquake drills and remember that you're supposed to try to get under something solid. So I dropped to the floor, flipped up my desktop, and put my head under it. Right after that, the lights that were over me came crashing down. If I hadn't remembered my emergency training and hadn't been under the desk, I would have been hit. I guess I have my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Cason, to thank.
The fury of a hurricane. The awesome power of a tornado. The devastation of an earthquake. These events remind us we are no match for the destructive force of nature. And that's what our next section is all about. We call it When Disaster Strikes.
Hi, I'm Al Michaels. In all my years covering sports, I've never experienced a day like last October 17th. It was Game 3 of the World Series at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. The Oakland Athletics were leading the Giants in the series 2-0. We were reviewing highlights of the first 2 games when at 5:04 p.m. our national pastime became a part in a natural disaster, the earthquake. But those who have experienced earthquakes know they happen with no warning at all. And like San Francisco, it could happen again. The scenario might be something like this. Here's question number 8, worth 5 points. You're having breakfast when suddenly the room begins to shake. The floor rocks and the walls sway from side to side. You can barely stay in your chair. You realize it's an earthquake. What should you do? A, run outside immediately. B, crouch under a table. C, call emergency services. D, brace yourself against a piece of heavy furniture or large appliance. Add 5 points to your score for the correct answer, B, crouch under a table. In a major earthquake, your home may become full of falling and flying objects. To protect yourself, you should get under the nearest sturdy desk or table. Be careful to stay away from windows, bookcases, heavy furniture, or appliances. They could easily fall on you during an earthquake.
Hurricane Hugo was one of the worst hurricanes to hit North America in this century. Disaster experts say the death toll would have been much higher if it had not been for the extraordinary efforts of organizations like the American Red Cross and if people had not heeded the warnings and orders to evacuate. But the National Hurricane Service says that occasionally, despite your best efforts, the unpredictability of a hurricane may catch you by surprise. So here's question number 9. Hurricane is about to hit your area.
Residents of the area are not advised to evacuate at this time.
Suddenly, the hurricane picked up speed. For 5 points, what is the best thing to do? A, call emergency services. B, immediately get out of the house. C, go to the lowest point in the house, preferably the basement. D, go to the center of the house. For 5 points, the answer is D. You should go to the center of the house because that is the part most likely to withstand the hurricane. You want to stay away from windows that could shatter or things that could fall off the walls. Stay inside.
How's this for a gourmet dinner? Beef stew, printanière with corn and tomato sauce and Boston brown bread. Hi, I'm Julia Child. This is a dinner for a very special occasion, a disaster, and you should be prepared in case disaster strikes. Be ready with 3 days of food and water, and you should count on half a gallon per person per day. For 4 people, then, that would be 6 gallons of water. A great place to keep all the stuff you buy, your water and your food, is in one of these heavy-duty plastic trash cans. They hold everything beautifully and solidly. And then you'll need other little nuts and bolts like paper towels, plastic containers with tight-fitting lids, cups and picnic plates. Do not forget the can opener. This is Julia Child. Bon appetit.
Our next disaster is a little like the mouse that roared. It's usually short and relatively small, but it's known as nature's most violent storm. More people are injured in tornadoes than in any other natural disaster. When a tornado visits your neighborhood, it may not leave anything behind. Would you know how to avoid some of the common mistakes people make in a tornado? We'll see in question 10. You are looking out your window during a thunderstorm when you see a funnel cloud start to form. The sky is black and you hear an incredibly loud roaring wind. You believe a tornado is approaching. There are several things you should do in this situation, but listen carefully. Our question is, what should you not do? A, stay away from all windows. B, go to the basement or storm cellar. C, get in your car and drive away from the tornado. D, protect yourself by getting under something sturdy. Now again, remember the question is, what should you not do? Give yourself 5 points if you answered C. Never try to outrun a tornado. Many people killed in tornadoes were trying to escape in their cars. A tornado can pick up your car and turn it into a flying missile. As soon as a tornado warning is issued, go to safety immediately. It is best to go to the lowest level of a building, such as the basement or storm cellar. If you don't have a basement, go to an inner hallway, a bathroom, or a closet.
Hi, I'm Tim Reed, and I'm here to talk...
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Daphne Maxwell Reed, and I'm here to talk about emergency supplies. Now, to start out, you'll need food and water.
Except Julia Child has already told them about that.
Well, then, a first aid kit is very important.
Richard Dean Anderson already covered that.
Then what else is there?
That's what I was getting to, old person who butts in. Once you have food and water and a first aid kit, there are some other important items you should have for emergency, such as a flashlight.
How about a portable radio and some extra batteries?
Yes, and then you'll need...
Oh, a fire extinguisher, of course. And everybody who lives on the second floor of a two-story building needs to have a portable ladder stuck under the bed. And there's blankets for everybody, too.
Of course.
And you're gonna need some money. Aha! And a change of clothes. There. Anything else?
Nah, I think you've covered it all. Except for this. A lipstick?
Well, you never know who you're going to run into in a crisis.
Tell me about it.
Anyway, pack whatever you need to survive for 3 days.
Whatever you might need.
Now, here's one that really stumped me, question 11. In the case of a severe thunderstorm, you know, one with major lightning and thunder, which of the following is safe to do? A, talk on the phone. B, wash the dishes. C, watch television. D, if you're in a car, stay in it and continue driving. The only one that is safe to do is D, stay in your car. It may surprise you to hear that a hardtop car is one of the safest places to be during a thunderstorm. Any of these other activities could lead to electrocution or, at the very least, damage to your appliances. That's because lightning can follow any wires or metal pipes into your home. A correct answer, D, gives you another 5 points. Sometimes you won't have time to think about it. You'll only have seconds to save yourself and those with you, as in question 12, worth 5 points. You are driving in a heavy rainstorm and hear a flash flood warning for your area on the radio. Within moments, the water level on the street is rising rapidly. You try to cross a flooded intersection and suddenly your car stalls. What should you do? A, stay inside and roll up the windows to provide a seal between you and the water. B, get on the roof of your car. C, abandon your car and climb to higher ground. D, try to push your car out of the path of the flood. The answer is C, abandon your car and climb to higher ground as quickly as you can. You should never stay inside the car because a flash flood can turn the street into a fast-flowing river. To give you an idea of the incredible power of these floods, every foot of water exerts 500 pounds of pressure. Just 3 feet of flash flood water can carry away the average automobile. As you leave the car behind you, you may have only seconds to escape the swiftly rising water. Remember, if you hear a flash flood warning and you see signs of flooding, don't wait until it's too late. Get out of your car right away and move to higher ground. If you answered C, give yourself 5 points.
Dogs hate earthquakes, and cats hate hurricanes, which makes them pretty smart because there aren't many things to like about a disaster. Hi, I'm Betty White, and as smart as animals are, they have no idea how to prepare for the big one. Barking into the wind just doesn't cut it. So when you prepare for a disaster, don't forget to pack food and water for your pet, and make sure you have a leash, a collar, and a carrier. Now, what if you have to go to an emergency shelter? You can't take your pets. You have to secure the little ones at home. Make sure you leave plenty of food and water. There's just one more thing. After everything's over, a little crisis counseling comes in handy, like this. It works for the dogs, too.
It's time to see how you're doing on the test. Now, if you've answered everything right so far, you could have 60 points. Next, we'll see if you know the score when it comes to playing it safe.
We'll be right back with Don Johnson and Wonder Year's Josh Saviano.
Hi, I'm Tom Sullivan, and this is a picture of my wonderful young adult daughter, Blythe. But you know, when Blythe was 4 years old, there almost wasn't the chance to hold this picture. On a June morning, Blythe fell in the family pool. I called her name and there was no answer. I screamed it and there was no answer. I dove in and thought about how blind I was. Then there was the sound of her air bubbles and I heard them blip to the surface and I followed them. And thanks to the safety techniques I'd learned in high school Red Cross, I'm holding this picture. Remember, you saw it.
Welcome back to the American Red Cross Emergency Test. In this section, we're going out to the ball game. We're going hiking, biking, and boating. And just when you thought you were going to have some fun.
Hi, I'm Don Johnson. And while all those activities should be fun, too many people don't follow ordinary safety precautions to make a good time a safe time. And when I'm boating for pleasure in a race, safety is my #1 concern. And that brings us to the next question. Lucky 13, worth 5 points. What starts out as a motorboat joyride turns into a nightmare. As your boat skims over the water, a member of your party stands up to get a drink out of the cooler. The boat hits a wave and your friend is thrown overboard. It's quickly obvious he doesn't know how to swim. Now here's a twist. Which of the following should you not do? A, bring the boat close and reach out to pull the person in with your arm or leg. B, jump in the water immediately for a fast rescue. C, extend a pole or an oar out to the person. D, throw out a line attached to a buoy or other flotation device. For 5 points, the answer is B. Unless you are trained in water rescue, you should never jump in the water to save a person who is drowning. The drowning victim is likely to panic and pull you under the water with him. Don't underestimate the strength of a drowning person. He may drown you while trying to save himself. Now, any of the other 3 answers may be good choices, but there's a simple rule to remember. Reach, throw, and if the water is shallow enough, wade. Reach means use any object to reach out to the person. That could be a pole, water ski, or even a towel. Throw means throw a buoy or other flotation device, preferably with a tow line. And finally, if it's shallow enough and you can safely keep your feet on the ground, you can wade out to the person. If the victim is not breathing, you should try to perform rescue breathing immediately. Open the victim's airway by tilting the head and lifting the jaw. Pinch his nose and give him 1 breath every 5 seconds. If you answered B, the thing you should not do is jump in the water if you're not trained. You give yourself 5 points.
Hi, I'm Josh Saviano, and I play Paul in the Wonder Years. The only time Kevin and I got into a big fight was over baseball cards. That's because we both love baseball. Question 14 takes us out to the ball game, the regular Saturday morning Little League game to be exact. There's a player on first and second. A good hit out to center field brings Max around third, charging towards home. Max drops down to slide 10 feet from the plate, and bam! When the dust clears, everyone's brushing themselves off, except for Max. He's still on the ground. He has intense pain in one leg and can't seem to move it. Which one of these should you do? A, keep him in the same position he fell. B, apply a hot compress. C, elevate the injured limb for better circulation. Or D, immediately apply an emergency splint. The answer is A. Keep him in the same position he fell, and that's worth 5 points. You should not move Max or elevate his leg because any movement could cause further injury. He could have sprained or strained the muscle, or possibly dislocated or broken a bone. If there's any doubt, it's best to treat it like a break. Make the person as comfortable as possible and send someone to call for emergency services.
Our next question deals with a common hazard of the great outdoors, extremes of hot and cold. The question is divided into 2 parts. Each part is true-false and worth 2 points each. First.
Your wife has been out jogging in the hot sun. When she comes home, you notice her skin looks pale, cool, and wet. She complains of a headache, nausea, and feels slightly dizzy. You should immediately have her drink as much cold liquid as possible. True or false? For 2 points, the answer to part 1 is false. In this situation, drinking a lot of water all at once can cause nausea. If someone is suffering from heat exhaustion, that means she's lost a lot of body fluid that must be replaced. But you should have her drink the water slowly. Only half a glass every 15 minutes. Make sure to give water only if the person is fully conscious and seems able to tolerate it. Now, part 2 of question 15. Your friend has been out hiking in the severe cold. She takes off her shoes and you notice her toes are white and the skin feels hard. After moving her to a warm place, the first thing you should do is rub her feet vigorously to restore circulation. True or false? The answer is false. These are symptoms of frostbite, and you should never rub a body part that is frostbitten. rubbing, or massage can cause more damage to frozen tissue. For a case of frostbite, it's best to put the frozen body part into water that is warm but not too hot, between 100 and 105 degrees.
Now, what's more all-American than riding a bike? It's one of our nation's favorite pastimes, but it's also a common way to get injured. More people are hurt each year riding bicycles than in any other sport. Here's question number 16. You and two friends are riding bikes down the sidewalk of a residential street. One of your friends hits a crack and takes a fall. He is unconscious and bleeding from a cut on his forehead and from his ear. What should you do? A, shake him and try to get a response. B, move him off the hard pavement onto the nearest lawn. C, find a nearby water source to clean the wounds. D, call for an ambulance. 5 points if you answer D, call for an ambulance. Unconsciousness and bleeding from the nose, mouth, or ear can be symptoms of a serious head injury. The most important thing is to get medical help as quickly as possible. Do not try to clean a head injury, because that can cause more serious bleeding and may wash contaminants into the wound. So how are you doing? If you answered everything correctly up until now, you'd have, let's see, 79 points. When I come back, we'll take what you know and go public with it.
The Red Cross emergency test will continue with Alan Thicke and Harry Hamlin.
Hi, I'm Bruce Newman, and I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for these two people, Floyd and Carol Cottom. We were out riding our bicycles with our bicycle club one day, and suddenly I collapsed.
Bruce wasn't breathing and he didn't have a pulse.
Luckily, we had taken a Red Cross CPR class. We gave team CPR and kept Bruce alive until the paramedics got there.
You know, later on, the doctors told me I'd had a cardiac arrest, and thanks to Floyd and Carol, I have a new lease on life. So every Mother's Day, I send a card to Carol. Thanks, Mom.
As you go about your daily life, going to work, shopping out to dinner, chances are you will someday be confronted with an emergency situation. Now, you may think that this will never happen to you. That's what I thought until a while ago one day I saw my own daughter choking. She was just 1.5 years, and I saw that she was turning blue. Now, fortunately, I had just learned the right thing to do in a project I was filming. How about you? What would you do? Question 17.
You're out with a group for dinner at a restaurant. About halfway through the meal, a member of your party starts to choke on a piece of food. He is coughing loudly. What should you do? A, use abdominal thrust to dislodge the piece of food. B, make him drink a glass of water. C, hit him forcefully on the back 4 times. D, encourage him to keep coughing. The correct answer is D, encourage him to keep coughing, worth 5 points. If the person is coughing strongly, encourage him to keep coughing and do not interfere. He may be able to cough up the piece of food. The situation is different if the person cannot cough, speak, or breathe, or is coughing so weakly it's ineffective. Then you'll have to do what I did when my daughter was choking. Use abdominal thrust, sometimes called the Heimlich maneuver. For an adult, stand behind the victim and wrap your arms around his waist. Find the space midway between the bottom of the breastbone and the navel. Make a fist with one hand and grab your fist with the other hand. Press into the victim's abdomen with quick upward thrusts. Keep repeating this until the airway is cleared.
Hello, I'm Alan Thicke, and here are some statistics that might get your heart beating. The #1 killer in this country is heart disease. In fact, it may be hard to believe, but almost 1 out of every 2 people in America will die from a heart attack or heart and blood vessel disease. And most of these people will die before they even get to a hospital. And whether or not they survive could depend on you. Picture yourself in this situation. Question number 18. You and some business associates are playing tennis. Your partner staggers and groans while clutching at his chest and shoulder. You ask him if he's all right, and he says he's fine and wants to keep playing. You look at him and notice several things about his condition. You suspect he may be having a heart attack. for 1 point each. Can you name 5 signs that indicate a possible heart attack? Here are 5 signs that indicate a possible heart attack. Number 1, persistent chest pain, often radiating into the shoulders, arms, neck, jaw, or back. Number 2, difficulty breathing. Number 3, nausea or vomiting. Number 4, profuse sweating. Number 5, pale or bluish skin color. Now for part 2 of question 18, worth 1 point. Let's say you recognize the signs of a heart attack in your tennis partner. He is sweating heavily, gasping for air, and has uncomfortable pressure in his chest. Which 2 of the following should you do? A, perform CPR. B, have your partner rest in a comfortable position. C, immediately call for medical help. D, wait at least 10 minutes to see if the symptoms continue before calling for help. The answers are B and C. Have your partner rest in a comfortable position and call for medical help immediately. It is critical that the victims stop any activity and get professional care as soon as possible. You should perform CPR only when the victim has no pulse and is not breathing.
The sight of blood can be frightening, but maybe not as much if you know how to stop the bleeding. Question 19.
You are at work on a construction job. One of your buddies is working with an electric saw. Suddenly you hear a scream. Your friend has cut himself with a saw. The cut appears to be deep and is bleeding severely. While you wait for medical help to arrive, how do you treat the bleeding? A, run the cut underwater. B, apply a tourniquet or tight bandage 3 inches above the cut. C, put first aid cream over the entire wound. D, apply direct pressure on the wound. For 5 points, the correct answer is D, apply direct pressure on the wound. The most effective way to control excessive bleeding is by pressing down on the affected area. If you don't have a sterile dressing handy, use a clean handkerchief, other cloth, or even your hand. If the cloth completely soaks through with blood, don't remove it. Simply add another one and keep the pressure on until you can get expert medical care.
We saved it for last. The most common type of accident and the kind that kills the most people. About 50,000 a year, to be exact. It's a trip in your old friend, the car.
You're the first to arrive at the scene of an accident that has occurred only moments before. You immediately pull over and check to see if anyone's hurt. The driver of the first car is slumped over the wheel and appears to be unconscious. The car is badly damaged. True or false for 5 points? The first thing you should do is pull the victim out of the car as quickly as possible. For 5 points, the answer is false. You should not move any victim of an accident unless they're in a burning car or other immediate life-threatening danger. Unnecessary movement can make injuries worse. Ask the next person who stops to phone for help.
Hi, I'm Harry Hamlin. On LA Law, I live in a world of lawsuits where somebody's always suing somebody for something and hiring a lawyer to handle the suit. In many ways, it's a reflection of the real world where people are afraid to do anything for fear of being sued. And in an emergency, that could cost somebody's life. While the laws vary, most states have some kind of legal provisions to protect Good Samaritans. But before you do get involved, if possible, ask the person if it's okay. If the victim's a child, try to get the consent of a parent or guardian. But if the victim is unconscious or unable to respond, the law is on your side. If you see someone in trouble, don't be afraid to help.
Well, looks like we made it through all 20 emergencies without too many scratches. So add up your score. I'll be right back to tell you how well you did on the American Red Cross emergency test. Okay, it's that time. Let's see how you did on the test. If you got between 80 and 100 points, congratulations. You are well prepared for an emergency. But remember, even if you've taken first aid and CPR courses, you should brush up your skills regularly. If your score was between 60 and 80, you have some basic knowledge of first aid and what to do in a disaster, but you could be better prepared. If your score was below 60, you should think about improving your skills. You can prepare yourself by taking American Red Cross Standard First Aid and CPR now. The action you take could make the difference between a quick recovery or a long stay in the hospital, a temporary injury or a permanent disability, and in some cases, life or death. Our thanks to the American Red Cross and others whose input was so helpful in designing this test. Thanks for joining us. We hope you'll never have to use what you learned on this program, but if you do, we hope we've given you the skills to be more confident in an emergency. Good night.